The moment I saw my sister's name flash across my phone screen, I should have known something was wrong. Not because Lauren calling me was unusual, we talked at least 3 times a week, but because of the time. 2:47 a.m. In the 15 years since she'd married Marcus and moved to the suburbs, my little sister had never once called me past 10 o'clock. "Lauren?" I answered, my voice thick with sleep. "What's wrong? Is it Marcus? The kids?" There was silence on the other end, then a sound that made my blood run cold. A sob so guttural, so raw that I was already reaching for my car keys before she spoke. "The baby," she whispered. "I lost the baby." My heart shattered. Lauren had been trying for a 3rd child for 2 years. She'd only told me about the pregnancy a week ago, swearing me to secrecy until she passed the 1st trimester. We'd cried happy tears together over FaceTime, already planning how I'd spoil my new niece or nephew. "Oh, honey," I breathed. "I'm so sorry. I'm coming over right now." "No!" The word came out sharp, almost angry. "No, Sophia, you can't." "Lauren, you shouldn't be alone. I'm not alone." Her voice had changed, hardened into something I didn't recognize. "Marcus is here, and the police." "The police?" My mind raced. "Why are the police there? Lauren, what happened?" Another sob, then words that would change everything. "You happened, Sophia. You pushed me down the stairs at Mom and Dad's anniversary party. You killed my baby." The phone slipped from my hand, clattering onto my hardwood floor. I could hear Lauren's voice, tinny and distant, still speaking, but the words didn't make sense. Nothing made sense. I hadn't pushed her down any stairs. I hadn't even seen her fall. But 3 hours later, when the police knocked on my door, I learned that wasn't the story my sister had told them, or our parents, or the 43 family members who'd attended our parents' 35th wedding anniversary party the night before. According to Lauren, I'd been drunk, jealous, cruel. I'd confronted her about her pregnancy in the upstairs hallway of our childhood home, accused her of rubbing her fertility in my face when she knew I'd been struggling with IVF for 3 years. And then, in a moment of rage, I'd pushed her backward down the stairs. "That's insane," I told Detective Martinez, a tired-looking woman who seemed like she'd rather be anywhere else at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. I wasn't even upstairs. I spent the entire party in the backyard helping my dad with the grill. There were dozens of people who saw me. She made a note. "We'll be interviewing all the guests, but your sister has injuries consistent with a fall, bruising on her arms that could be defensive wounds, and..." She paused, studying me. "She says you'd been drinking heavily." I had 2 glasses of wine over 5 hours. I was the designated driver for my cousin Patricia and her husband. You can check with them. "We will." But it didn't matter what Patricia said, or what my father said about me never leaving the backyard, or what the timeline showed, that I'd been live streaming parts of the party on Instagram, clearly showing me outside when Lauren claimed I was pushing her down the stairs. Because Lauren had something more powerful than facts. She had tears, a lost baby, and a story that painted her older sister as a jealous, bitter woman who couldn't stand to see her little sister happy. Within 48 hours, I became a pariah in my own family. My mother, who had always been closer to Lauren, wouldn't return my calls. My father answered once, only to say, "Your sister is devastated, Sophia. Whether you meant to or not, you need to give her space to grieve." "Dad, I wasn't even in the house when she fell. You know that. You were standing right next to me." There was a long pause. "I was drinking too, sweetheart. I don't remember everything clearly. And Lauren wouldn't lie about something like this." My cousins, aunts, uncles, people I'd grown up with who'd known me my entire life, suddenly had nothing to say to me. My Aunt Carol, my godmother, sent me a text that simply read, "I'm praying for you to find peace with what you've done." The only person who believed me was my husband, David. He'd been at the party too, had photographic evidence on his phone of us together outside during the time of Lauren's supposed push. But when he tried to show the photos to my parents, my mother had broken down sobbing. "Stop it!" she'd screamed at him. "Stop trying to cover for her. My baby lost her baby, and you're showing me pictures?" 3 weeks passed in a haze of isolation and disbelief. I couldn't eat. couldn't sleep. I'd lost 15 pounds and had to take a leave of absence from my job as a marketing director when I broke down crying during a client presentation. Lauren, meanwhile, was posting constantly on social media. Pictures of flowers people sent her, sympathy cards, meals our aunts dropped off, and always, always comments about her strength, her grace, her ability to forgive, even after such a betrayal. "My sister is sick," she wrote in one post that got 847 reactions. "I pray she gets the help she needs. Despite everything, I still love her." The comments below were brutal. "You're a saint for not pressing charges. Some people can't stand to see others happy. Jealousy is a disease. She should be in jail." That last one was from my cousin Monica. We'd been bridesmaids in each other's weddings. I was sitting in my therapist's office trying to explain for the third session in a row that I was not, in fact, in denial about pushing my pregnant sister down a flight of stairs when David called. "You need to come home, now." "What's wrong?" "Just come home. And Sophia, call your lawyer on the way." My lawyer, because that's what my life had become, a situation that required legal counsel to navigate my own family. When I got home, David was pacing our living room, his laptop open on the coffee table. His face was a mix of emotions I couldn't quite read: anger, excitement, and something that looked like vindication. "Sit down," he said, guiding me to the couch. "And watch this." He pulled up a video on his laptop. It was security footage, black and white, slightly grainy but clear enough. I recognized the hallway immediately, the second floor of my parents' house. They'd installed cameras 2 years ago after a break-in down the street. "How did you get this?" "Your dad gave me the password ages ago when we house sat for them. He forgot he'd given it to me. I've been going through the footage from the party." On the screen, I watched Lauren climb the stairs. She was alone, moving carefully, one hand on the railing. She reached the top, looked around, then walked to the bathroom. A few minutes later, she emerged, and then she did something that made my blood turn to ice. She looked directly at the camera, smiled, and sat down on the top step. She pulled out her phone, typed something, then put it away. She gripped the railing with both hands, took a deep breath, and threw herself backward down the stairs. It was deliberate, calculated. She actually pushed off with her hands to make sure she fell far enough, hard enough. She tumbled down 8 steps before catching herself on the landing, and even then, she smacked her arms against the wall, hard enough to leave marks. "Oh my God," I whispered. "Oh my God, she—" "Wait," David said grimly. "There's more." He pulled up another file. This one was from 20 minutes earlier. Lauren was in my parents' bedroom on her phone. The audio was faint, but David had enhanced it. "It's perfect," Lauren was saying. "Everyone's outside. Sophia's been documented on multiple phones down there. Mom saw her by the grill 5 minutes ago." A pause. "No, I know what I'm doing. We need this. The lawsuit money could set us up for life." Another pause. "She has a $5 million umbrella policy. Marcus, we'd never have to worry again. And after what she said to me last month about us asking her for another loan, she deserves this." The phone slipped from her hand as she practiced her story in the mirror. "She was drunk. She was so drunk and angry. She said I was rubbing the pregnancy in her face." I ran to the bathroom and vomited. My own sister, my baby sister, who I'd helped raise when our parents worked double shifts, who I'd given my entire savings to when Marcus lost his job 2 years ago, who I'd let live with me rent-free for 6 months when they were first married. She'd faked a miscarriage, faked an entire pregnancy, probably, and tried to frame me for it. "We have to show this to everyone," I said when I could speak again. "The police, our parents, everyone." "We will," David said. "But Sophia, there's something else you need to know first." He pulled up a third file. This one was a screen recording from his computer. "I did some digging after I found the videos. Lauren and Marcus are in serious financial trouble. They're about to lose their house. Marcus has been gambling online, and they're in debt for almost $300,000. "How do you know this?" "Because Lauren used your social security number to open 3 credit cards 6 months ago. You're not the first person she's done this to either. I found court records. Marcus's mother sued them 2 years ago for identity theft. They settled out of court." The room spun. She stole my identity and was planning to sue you for damages from the assault. I found draft emails on the cloud account she forgot she shared with you. She was going to claim emotional distress, medical bills, lost wages. She figured you'd settle quickly to avoid criminal charges, and your insurance would pay out. I thought about all the times Lauren had cried poverty to me, the loans I'd given them, the Christmas gifts for their kids that I'd bought because they claimed they couldn't afford any, the vacations they'd taken while owing me $20,000. We're going to destroy her, I said quietly. David shook his head. No. We're going to let her destroy herself. But first, we're going to make sure you're protected. The next morning, we sat in my lawyer's office, a shark named Catherine Pierce, who specialized in fraud cases. She watched the videos 3 times, took notes, and then leaned back in her chair with a smile that would have terrified me if she wasn't on my side. Your sister is about to learn a very expensive lesson, she said. Here's what we're going to do. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. We weren't going to release the videos immediately. Instead, Catherine would send a formal letter to Lauren's lawyer, because of course she'd already retained one, stating that we had obtained security footage from the night in question that clearly showed the incident. We would be happy to provide this footage to the police to clear my name. She'll panic, Catherine explained. She'll either double down and dig herself deeper, or she'll try to walk it back. Either way, we document everything. Lauren chose to double down. Within hours of the letter being sent, she was on Facebook Live, crying about how I was now trying to intimidate her into silence with fake evidence and legal threats. She claimed I was using my wealth and privilege to avoid consequences. The comments poured in by the hundreds. My high school friends, college roommates, co-workers I'd barely spoken to, all rallying around poor, victimized Lauren. Someone started a GoFundMe for her, medical expenses, and trauma therapy. It raised $8,000 in 2 days. My mother called me for the first time in weeks, screaming so loudly that David could hear her from across the room. How dare you threaten your sister with lawyers? Haven't you done enough? She lost her baby because of you, and now you're trying to ruin her life? Mom, I have proof that I don't want to hear your lies. You've always been jealous of Lauren. Always. Ever since she was born, you couldn't stand that you weren't the baby anymore. You're not welcome at Thanksgiving, or Christmas, or any family gathering until you apologize and get help for your drinking problem. I don't have a drinking problem. But she'd already hung up. Catherine told me to document everything, every post, every comment, every threat. Yes, threats. Because Lauren's story had gone viral in our community, and I was getting messages from strangers telling me I deserved to lose my own baby, that I should be in prison, that karma would find me. 2 weeks into this nightmare, Lauren made her fatal mistake. She went on a local podcast called Surviving Sisterhood that focused on women overcoming family trauma. For 45 minutes, she spun an elaborate tale of my supposed alcoholism, my jealousy, my history of violence that had never existed. She claimed I'd pushed her once before, when we were teenagers, that I'd threatened her children, that David was enabling my behavior. And then the host asked the question that changed everything. Lauren, I know this is painful, but can you walk us through exactly what happened that night? Our listeners find that details help them process their own trauma. Lauren's voice was steady, practiced. She'd told this story so many times now that she probably believed it herself. I was walking to the bathroom, the second floor one, because someone was using the one downstairs. I was alone in the hallway when Sophia came up behind me. I could smell the wine on her breath. She grabbed my arm, hard enough to leave bruises, and said, "Must be nice, having everything handed to you." I tried to pull away, told her I didn't want to fight, but she wouldn't let go. "How frightening," the host murmured sympathetically. She started saying horrible things, that I was a bad mother, that I didn't deserve another baby when I could barely handle the 2 I had, that Marcus was probably cheating on me because I'd let myself go after the kids. I had to turn it off. David finished listening and transcribed the important parts. Lauren claimed the push happened at exactly 9:47 p.m. She knew because she'd looked at her phone right before to check on the babysitter. That was her mistake, because at 9:47 p.m., according to the security footage, Lauren was already at the bottom of the stairs, having thrown herself down them at 9:43 p.m. But more importantly, at 9:47 p.m., I was on Facebook Live, standing in my parents' backyard with my dad, my cousin Patricia, and 6 other family members, doing a toast for their anniversary. The live stream had 847 views. It was date and time stamped. Indisputable. Catherine laughed when we showed her. She just committed provable defamation on a recorded podcast. This is beautiful. We filed our lawsuit the next day, not just for defamation, but for intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraud, and identity theft. We attached the security footage, the live stream video, the credit card fraud evidence, and transcripts from the podcast where Lauren gave specific times that proved she was lying. We also sent everything to the police. Detective Martinez called me personally to apologize. We'll be filing charges against your sister for filing a false police report and fraud. You may also want to contact the FBI about the identity theft, as it crosses state lines. But the real satisfaction came when we sent everything to the podcast. The host, a woman named Rebecca, who'd built her brand on supporting victims, was horrified. She released an emergency episode the next day, apologizing to her listeners and revealing the truth. She played the security footage audio on air, with Lauren's own voice planning the fraud. I've been in this business for 10 years. Rebecca said, her voice shaking with anger. And I have never been so disgusted. To fake a miscarriage, to use the real pain that so many women experience for money, to try to destroy your own sister who, from what we've learned, has been nothing but generous to you. I've spoken to multiple family members who confirm that Sophia has given Lauren over $50,000 in loans over the past 5 years, never asking for repayment. She's been the definition of a loving sister, and this is how Lauren repays her? The podcast went viral, not just locally, but nationally. Miscarriage fraud started trending. The GoFundMe was shut down, and everyone who donated was refunded. Local news picked it up, then national news. Lauren tried to do damage control. She claimed the videos were deep fakes, that I'd paid off the podcast host, that this was all an elaborate conspiracy. But the more she talked, the deeper she dug her hole. Marcus left her. He filed for divorce within a week of the news breaking, claiming he'd had no knowledge of her plan. I didn't believe him. The phone call proved otherwise. But he was smart enough to distance himself before criminal charges were filed. My parents were the last to come around. My mother showed up at my door on a rainy Thursday evening, looking like she'd aged 10 years in the past month. I need to see the videos, she said quietly. We sat in silence as she watched her younger daughter deliberately throw herself down the stairs, as she listened to Lauren plan to destroy me for money, as she heard the rehearsed lies. My mother cried for 3 hours straight, not pretty tears, but body-shaking sobs that left her gasping for breath. When she finally spoke, her voice was broken. I chose her over you. My own daughter was being framed, and I chose the liar. How can you ever forgive me? I wanted to be angry. I wanted to make her suffer the way I'd suffered, but looking at her, really looking at her, I just saw a mother who'd been betrayed by one daughter and had betrayed another in return. You believed what you saw, I said carefully. Lauren's very good at manipulation. She always has. Been. No, my mother shook her head. I chose to believe her because it was easier. You've always been the strong one, Sophia, the successful one, the one who had everything together. When Lauren said you were jealous of her, some part of me wanted to believe that you weren't perfect, that you were capable of being as petty and small as the rest of us. I'm so sorry. It took months to rebuild our relationship. Family therapy, honest conversations, and a lot of boundaries. But we got there eventually. Lauren was less fortunate. She was convicted of filing a false police report, fraud, and identity theft. The judge, a woman who'd actually suffered multiple miscarriages, was particularly unsympathetic. Lauren got 18 months in prison and 3 years of probation. She also owed me $73,000 in damages, plus the $50,000 in loans I documented, plus legal fees. The last time I saw her was at the sentencing. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. The confidence that had allowed her to look straight at a security camera before faking a fall was gone. When our eyes met across the courtroom, I expected to feel satisfaction. vindication, maybe even hatred. Instead, I felt nothing. She was a stranger wearing my sister's face. After the judge read the sentence, Lauren was allowed to make a statement. She stood, cleared her throat, and looked directly at me. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know that means nothing now, but I am. I let debt and desperation turn me into someone I don't recognize. I destroyed our family for money. I tried to ruin your life because mine was falling apart. There's no excuse for what I did." She paused, and for a moment I saw a flash of the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that the baby... There was never a baby. I was never pregnant. At least I couldn't have done it if there had been a real baby. I'm not that much of a monster." As if lying about a miscarriage and framing me for causing, it made her less of one. The bailiff led her away in handcuffs, and I never looked back. That was 2 years ago. Lauren's out of prison now, living in a halfway house in another state. She sends me letters sometimes, long, rambling apologies that I file away unread. My lawyer keeps them in case we need restraining order evidence someday, but so far she's kept her distance. Marcus tried to reconcile with me last year, showing up at my office with some story about how Lauren had manipulated him too. I had security escort him out. He's living with his mother now, the same one he and Lauren had defrauded before me. My parents have struggled the most with the aftermath. My father seems lost, unable to reconcile the daughter he thought he knew with the woman who went to prison. My mother overcompensates now, calling me daily, sending gifts I don't need, trying to make up for choosing wrong when it mattered most. I appreciate the effort, but some wounds leave permanent scars. The extended family is split. Some cousins and aunts have apologized, shamefaced about their rush to judgment. Others maintain that I should have handled it privately instead of letting Lauren face legal consequences. "Family doesn't send family to jail," my Aunt Carol said at Easter last year. "Family doesn't frame family for assault and fake miscarriages either," I replied. But here we are. She hasn't spoken to me since. I'm okay with that. David and I are stronger than ever. He stood by me when everyone else turned away, believed me when my own parents didn't. We finally did our last round of IVF 6 months ago. It didn't work, and we've decided to stop trying. We're looking into adoption now, and somehow that feels right. Like we're meant to give a home to a child who needs one, rather than create one ourselves. I still have the security footage saved in 3 different places, not because I ever want to watch it again, but because it's proof. Proof that sometimes the people we trust most are capable of the greatest betrayals. Proof that family can be your biggest threat, and proof that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, has a way of surfacing. Rebecca, the podcast host, invited me on her show last month for a follow-up episode. She wanted to talk about recovery, about rebuilding after family betrayal. I almost said no, but then I thought about all the women who'd reached out to me with their own stories of false accusations, family fraud, and sibling betrayal. The hardest part, I told Rebecca's listeners, wasn't the lie itself. It was how quickly everyone believed it. How ready they were to see me as a villain because it fit a narrative they were comfortable with. The jealous older sister, the bitter, infertile woman. Nobody asked for my side. Nobody looked for evidence. They just believed, because tears are more powerful than truth sometimes. "How do you move forward from that?" Rebecca asked. I thought about it for a long moment. You realize that other people's opinions of you, even your family's, don't define your truth. You document everything. You protect yourself legally and financially. And you accept that some relationships aren't worth salvaging, no matter how much DNA you share. The episode had over 1 million downloads. I still get messages from women thanking me for being open about the experience. Some are dealing with similar situations. Others just needed to hear that it's okay to cut toxic family members out of your life, that blood doesn't obligate you to accept abuse. I keep Lauren's last letter, the one I actually read, in my desk drawer. Not out of sentiment, but as a reminder. In it, she wrote, "I convinced myself you had everything. The husband, the career, the money, the perfect life. I told myself you could afford to lose some of it, that you were so strong you'd bounce back from anything. I turned you into a character in my head instead of seeing you as my sister. My real sister who'd given me everything and asked for nothing in return. I destroyed us for money we wouldn't have even kept because you would have given it to me if I'd just asked. You always gave me everything when I asked. She was right about that last part. I would have given her anything. I'd been giving her things my whole life. My toys when we were kids, my car when she turned 16, my savings when she needed it. Maybe that was part of the problem. I'd made it so easy for her to take from me that when I finally said no to one loan request, she felt entitled to take it anyway, by any means necessary. The truth is, I don't hate Lauren. I hate what she became, what she did, what she revealed about herself. But hate takes energy I don't have to spare. Instead, I nothing her. She's a cautionary tale I tell when people ask about my family. I have parents, I say. I had a sister once. Past tense. Because the sister I thought I had never really existed. People sometimes ask if I think she's truly sorry. I think she's sorry she got caught. Sorry the security cameras existed. Sorry her plan failed. But sorry for trying to destroy me. Sorry for the pain she caused. I don't think she's capable of that kind of empathy. If she was, she never would have looked into that camera, smiled, and thrown herself down those stairs. The security company that makes my parents' system actually reached out to me last year. They wanted to use my case in their marketing, with my permission and compensation, of course. I said no. This story isn't a selling point. It's a tragedy, not because of what I lost. I can rebuild my life without Lauren in it, but because of what it revealed. That sometimes the people who share your blood, your history, your childhood memories are capable of calculating your destruction while smiling at Sunday dinner. I've started speaking at legal conferences about family fraud. Catherine Pierce, my lawyer, says I'm her best advertisement. We've helped 17 women in similar situations over the past 2 years. False accusations within families are more common than people think, usually motivated by money, custody, or inheritance. The key is always the same. Document everything, even when, especially when, you think you can trust someone. My story went viral again last month when a famous actress went through something similar with her brother. She referenced my case in her statement, calling it the Lauren Conrad precedent, my sister's married name, which she'll probably change now. It's strange being a reference point for family betrayal, but if it helps one person recognize the warning signs, hey, maybe something good can come from this mess. The warning signs were there, if I'd been looking. The way Lauren's stories never quite added up. The way money always disappeared around her. The way she'd blame others for her problems, never taking responsibility. The way she'd cry and play victim whenever confronted. The way she'd always been just a little too interested in my financial situation, always probing about my bonuses, investments, insurance policies. But I didn't see it because she was my sister, my baby sister. The one I'd protected from bullies, taught to ride a bike, helped with homework. Love makes you blind to the monsters hiding in familiar faces. If you're reading this and something feels off about a family member or friend's behavior, trust your instincts. That nagging feeling that their story doesn't quite add up? Listen to it. That discomfort when they ask too many questions about your finances? Pay attention. That guilt they make you feel when you say no to their requests? It's manipulation, not love, and if you've been falsely accused, know this. The truth has a way of surfacing. It might take time. You might lose people you thought would stand by you. But lies built on greed and jealousy always crumble eventually. They leave evidence. They create inconsistencies. They depend on emotions, overruling logic, and eventually logic wins. I still drive by Lauren's old house sometimes. The new owners have painted it yellow. She always hated yellow. They've got kids who play in the yard where her children used to. Different lives, different stories, no trace of the drama that unfolded there. Her kids live with Marcus's mother now. I send birthday cards with no return address. College funds I set up in their names will mature when they turn 18. They didn't choose their parents, and they shouldn't suffer for Lauren's crimes. Maybe someday, when they're older, they'll want to know their aunt. Or maybe Lauren has poisoned that well too deeply. Time will tell. David wants us to move, start fresh somewhere where the name Sophia Kowalski doesn't immediately trigger recognition and whispers. But I refuse to be driven from my home, my city, my life. I built this life honestly, with hard work and integrity. I won't let Lauren's ghost chase me away from it. The IVF clinic called yesterday. They're having a seminar on alternative family building, including adoption and surrogacy. David and I are going next week. It feels like closing one chapter and opening another. Lauren took a lot from me, my family's trust, my reputation for a while, my peace of mind. But she didn't take my future. She didn't take my ability to love, to trust David, to build something beautiful from the wreckage she created. Sometimes I dream about the stairs. Not the fall. I wasn't there for that. But I dream about Lauren at the top, looking at that camera, making that choice. In the dreams, I'm behind the camera, screaming at her to stop, trying to warn her that I'll find out, that there's evidence. But she can't hear me. She just smiles that calculated smile and lets go of the railing. I wake up from those dreams not with fear or sadness, but with a strange kind of peace, because even in my subconscious, I know I couldn't have stopped her. This was always who she was. I just couldn't see it before. My therapist says I've processed the trauma remarkably well, that my ability to set boundaries and refuse to accept guilt for Lauren's choices shows emotional maturity, maybe. Or maybe I just ran out of tears. There's only so much you can grieve before acceptance settles in like scar tissue. Tough, protective, permanent. The last family gathering I attended was my cousin Patricia's wedding 3 months ago. Half the family still won't speak to me. The other half treats me like I might break, whispering around me, avoiding any mention of Lauren or siblings or anything that might trigger me. I'm neither the villain nor the victim to them anymore. I'm just uncomfortable evidence that family can betray you in ways you never imagined. At the reception, my drunk Uncle Tony cornered me. "You know," he slurred, "Lauren called me last week, from that halfway house. She wanted to borrow money." "What did you tell her?" He laughed, bitter and sharp. "I told her I'd give her exactly what she gave you. A push down the stairs and a frame job. She hung up on me." It wasn't funny. None of this is funny. But I laughed anyway, because what else can you do when your tragedy becomes family folklore? A cautionary tale told at gatherings you no longer attend. People always want to know if I forgive her. It's the question that comes up in every interview, every legal consultation, every therapy session. Do you forgive your sister? The truth is, forgiveness isn't the right word. I understand her, in a way. Desperation makes people do terrible things. Debt can feel like drowning, and drowning people will pull anyone under to save themselves. But understanding isn't absolving, explaining isn't excusing. I forgive the sister I thought I had, the one who existed in my memories, who maybe never existed at all. But Lauren, the real Lauren, who looked into a camera and chose to destroy me for money, her I simply released, like cutting a rope that's dragging you underwater. Not with anger or ceremony, just a simple letting go. She's written me 43 letters from prison and the halfway house. I've read 3. They all say variations of the same thing. Sorry, desperate. Didn't mean for it to go so far. Never thought I'd find the footage. Wishes she could take it back. Maybe she means it. Maybe she's just sorry she got caught. I'll never know, and I've made peace with not knowing. What I do know is this. At 9:43 p.m., on a warm September evening, at our parents' 35th anniversary party, my sister made a choice that revealed who she really was. And at 9:47 p.m., while she was lying at the bottom of the stairs preparing to destroy my life, I was raising a champagne glass in my parents' backyard, surrounded by family who would soon turn their backs on me, toasting to love that endures. The irony isn't lost on me. Love doesn't always endure. Sometimes it's an illusion, a story we tell ourselves about the people we want our family to be. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is accept the truth about someone, even when that truth is that they were willing to destroy you for money. I still have the champagne glass from that night. It sits on a shelf in my office next to a photo from better times, Lauren and me as kids, dressed as matching witches for Halloween. We're holding hands, smiling at the camera, unaware that one of us will grow up to be exactly what she pretended to be that night. If you're wondering if there's hope for reconciliation, the answer is no. Some bridges aren't just burned, they're obliterated. Some betrayals cut so deep that the wound becomes part of your architecture, a supporting beam in the new structure of your life. You build around it, accommodate it, but you never forget it's there. Lauren taught me something valuable. Though I paid too high a price for the lesson, family isn't who you're related to. Family is who shows up when everyone else turns away, who believes you when the world calls you a liar, who stands beside you in courtrooms and therapist offices and empty holiday dinners. By that definition, I have a smaller family now, but a truer one. David, his parents, who never wavered in their support, a handful of cousins who came around, my friend Sarah, who flew in from Seattle the moment she heard what happened, Rebecca, the podcast host who became an unexpected ally, Catherine Pierce, my lawyer, who went from legal counsel to friend. These are the people who held me up when my blood relatives tried to tear me down. They're my chosen family, my real family. They're enough, more than enough. The security footage still exists, backed up in multiple places. Not because I ever want to watch it again, but because it's proof that I survived, that I was telling the truth, that sometimes the victim wins in the end. If Lauren ever reads this, and she might, things have a way of reaching people in halfway houses, I want her to know something. I don't wish you ill. I don't hope you suffer. I simply hope you never have the opportunity to do this to anyone else, that the world remembers what you're capable of, that every relationship you ever have is haunted by the ghost of what you did to me. Not because I'm vindictive, but because people deserve to know who they're trusting. Your children will grow up and eventually learn what happened. Someone will tell them, or they'll Google their mother's name and find the news articles, the podcast episodes, the court records. They'll have to reconcile the mother they know with the woman who smiled at a camera before faking a fall to frame her sister. I've set aside money for their therapy, too. They'll need it. Marcus reached out again last week through his lawyer. Apparently, he's writing a book about being manipulated by a master deceiver and wanted my participation. I laughed so hard I actually cried. The same man who was on the phone with Lauren as she planned the fraud, who knew about the identity theft, who helped her rehearse her lies, now wants to play victim too. My lawyer sent back a single-word response. No. But the audacity reminded me that Lauren didn't operate alone. She had an accomplice who's managed to avoid most of the consequences by throwing her under the bus. Marcus got probation and community service for his minimal role. He kept the kids. He kept his job. He kept his reputation as the poor husband who was deceived. The truth is messier. Marcus was the one who found out about my umbrella insurance policy. He was the one who researched personal injury settlements. He was the one who suggested they needed a believable tragedy to get out of debt. Lauren just volunteered to be the one to execute it. I have recordings of their conversations from the cloud storage they didn't know was backing up to my account. Lauren had used my email to set up their family iPad years ago and never changed it. I could have destroyed Marcus too. But I looked at their kids, at those two innocent faces, and decided they deserved one parent who wasn't in prison, even if that parent was a coward who let their mother take the fall alone. Sometimes mercy feels like weakness, but it's not. It's choosing to break the cycle of destruction, even when you have every right to continue it. The financial settlement from the civil suit finally came through last month. After legal fees and taxes, it wasn't much. Certainly not the $5 million Lauren had hoped to steal from my insurance, but it was enough to donate a significant amount to the National Miscarriage Association. They do real work for women who've actually lost babies, not those who fake it for profit. I made the donation in Lauren's name. The irony wasn't lost on them when I explained the situation. They sent me a thank you note that said, "Your generous donation will help women experiencing genuine pregnancy loss, and we hope your sister's actions don't diminish the very real pain of those who've suffered this tragedy." They also, very politely, asked if I'd rather the donation be anonymous. I said no. Let Lauren's name be associated with something good for once, even if it's born from her lies. My mother called me crying when she saw the donation announcement in the association's newsletter. She'd suffered 3 miscarriages between Lauren and me, something she'd never told either of us until that moment. To think, she sobbed, Lauren knew about my losses and still chose to fake one. How could she? How could my own daughter weaponize something that nearly broke me? I didn't have an answer. I still don't. The ripple effects continue. My workplace, which had initially given me leave when the accusations surfaced, has now made me the unofficial spokesperson for their new legal assistance program. They realized how easily any employee could face false accusations and decided to offer legal insurance as a benefit. I spoke at the rollout, telling an abbreviated version of my story. 43 employees signed up that day. My boss, a woman named Jennifer, who'd been cold and distant during the initial accusations, pulled me aside after the presentation. My brother accused me of elder abuse when our father was dying, she said quietly. Tried to get power of attorney by claiming I was stealing from Dad. I spent everything I had fighting it. If I'd had this benefit... She trailed off, then squeezed my hand. Thank you for being brave enough to share your story. I'm not brave. I'm just too tired to be ashamed of something that wasn't my fault. David and I renewed our vows last month. Not a big ceremony, just us, a judge, and our real family, the people who stood by us. David surprised me by writing new vows that addressed everything we'd been through. I promise, he said, voice steady, to always be your witness, your evidence, your proof, to stand between you and anyone who tries to harm you, family or otherwise, to believe you, defend you, and choose you, even when the whole world says otherwise. I couldn't get through mine without crying, not sad tears, but grateful ones, because I'd learned that real love isn't just about the good times. It's about who stays when your own sister is trying to destroy you, who helps you gather evidence instead of telling you to let it go for the sake of family harmony, who sits with you through police interviews and court dates and therapy sessions where you ugly cry about the unfairness of it all. The adoption agency called yesterday. We've been matched with a sibling group, 2 boys, ages 3 and 5, whose parents lost custody due to drug addiction. They need a fresh start with people who understand that family isn't always safe, that sometimes love comes from unexpected places. We meet them next week. I'm terrified. Not of loving them, I already do, just from their photos and files, but of failing them, of not being enough, of them someday looking at me the way I look at the empty space where Lauren used to be in my life. David says that's exactly why we'll be good parents, because we know that family isn't guaranteed. It's chosen, daily, through actions and decisions and showing up when it matters. We know that trust is earned, not owed, that love requires proof, not just words. We've already decided our children will have security cameras in common areas of our house, not to spy on them, but to protect them. Because we know now that accusations can come from anywhere, even from people who claim to love you. Evidence saved me. It might save them someday too. Is that paranoid? Maybe. But paranoia is just pattern recognition when you've lived through betrayal. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if those cameras hadn't existed, if my parents hadn't installed them after that neighborhood break-in. Would I be in prison right now? Would I be bankrupt from legal fees, fighting charges based on Lauren's tears and lies? Would my marriage have survived the doubt? The answer keeps me up at night sometimes. How many people are sitting in jail right now because they didn't have video proof of their innocence? How many families have been destroyed by believable lies? How many Laurens are out there playing victim while creating victims? I've become something of an advocate for security cameras and documentation. I speak at women's groups, legal conferences, anywhere that will have me. My message is simple. Document everything. Save everything. Back it up in multiple places, even with family, especially with family, because the people who can hurt you most are the ones you'd never suspect. Last week, a woman approached me after one of my talks. She was crying. My daughter is accusing me of stealing her identity, she said. But she's the one who's been using my credit cards. I don't have proof, and everyone believes her because she's young, and I'm the parent with access to her information. I gave her Catherine Pierce's card and told her to check for any digital trail. Emails, texts, location data, purchase histories. The truth leaves footprints, I told her. You just have to know where to look. She called me yesterday. They found evidence. The daughter had been using dating apps with purchase histories that corresponded to the fraudulent charges. The IP addresses matched her apartment, not her mother's house. The truth, as it always does when you look hard enough, surfaced. Her family is torn apart now, just like mine. But at least an innocent woman won't go to prison for something she didn't do. That's something. Not much, but something. The halfway house where Lauren lives is 43 miles from my home. I know because I looked it up. Not because I want to visit, but because I need to know where she is. It's a survival instinct now, knowing where danger might come from. She gets out fully in 6 months. Free to rebuild her life, though I doubt anyone will hire her with her record. Free to find new victims, though I hope her name is too searchable now for that to work. Free to contact me, though there's a restraining order that says she can't come within 500 feet of David or me. 500 feet isn't very far when you think about it. The distance of a city block, the length of a grocery store parking lot. Close enough to see her coming, but maybe not far enough to get away. My therapist says I'm catastrophizing, that Lauren is more likely to disappear than to seek revenge, that people like her usually move on to easier targets. But my therapist didn't see the look in Lauren's eyes during sentencing. Not when she apologized. That was performance. But after, when the bailiff was leading her away. She looked back at me, and for just a second, the mask slipped. It wasn't remorse I saw. It was rage, pure, concentrated fury that I'd won, that her plan had failed, that she was going to prison while I walked free. That look told me everything I needed to know. Given the chance, she'd do it again. Maybe not the same way. She knows about cameras now. But Lauren doesn't forgive people who beat her. She didn't forgive our cousin Monica for winning a scholarship Lauren wanted in high school. She planted drugs in Monica's locker. Monica just couldn't prove it was Lauren. She didn't forgive our aunt for calling her out on a lie at Thanksgiving. That aunt's dog mysteriously got out and was hit by a car the next week. I should have seen the pattern earlier. The little revenges, the calculated cruelties, the way problems always seemed to find people who crossed Lauren. But I was her sister. I thought I was safe. Now I know better. Now I have cameras everywhere. Doorbell, driveway, backyard, every room except bathrooms and bedrooms. Now I have a security system that alerts my phone if anyone comes near my property. Now I vary my routes to work, never leaving or arriving at the same time. Now I look over my shoulder in parking lots and scan restaurants before I sit down. David says I can't live in fear forever. But it's not fear, it's preparedness. There's a difference between paranoia and learning from experience. 3 days ago, a package arrived at my office with no return address. Security scanning showed it was harmless, just papers. Inside was a printed manuscript, Surviving My Sister, a story of false accusations and family betrayal, by Lauren Morrison, her maiden name. She'd written a book, a 287-page memoir painting herself as the victim of a wealthy sister's vindictive campaign. In her version, the security footage was doctored. The pregnancy was real. I pushed her and then used my money and connections to destroy her when she tried to seek justice. The dedication made me laugh. To all the women who've been silenced by those with power, your truth matters, even when the world won't listen. Catherine Pierce is already on it. Cease and desist letters, threats of another defamation suit, contacts at publishing houses who won't touch it once they know the legal liability. The manuscript will never see legitimate publication. But that won't stop Lauren from self-publishing, from spreading her version online, from finding people who want to believe that the system failed her. Because that's the thing about lies. They don't have to be believed by everyone. They just need to find the right audience. And there will always be people who want to believe that successful women are secretly monsters, that the real victim is the one who went to prison, that there's more to the story than video evidence and court records. I kept the manuscript, not to read again, once was enough, but as evidence. Lauren can't help herself. She'll keep creating evidence of her obsession, her inability to accept responsibility, her continued attempts to harm me. Every letter, every manuscript, every attempt at contact goes into a file that Catherine maintains, building a case for when, not if, Lauren escalates after her release. The boys we're adopting have been through trauma. Their parents chose drugs over them, just like Lauren chose money over me. They'll need stability, consistency, and honesty. They'll need to know that David and I will protect them, even from people who claim to love them. We're turning Lauren's old room, the guest room she stayed in during those 6 months, into a playroom for them. David wanted to know if that was too symbolic, too much like erasing her. I told him Lauren erased herself. We're just repurposing the space for something better, something honest, something real. The older boy, Tyler, has attachment issues. He doesn't trust easily, always waiting for adults to disappoint him. I understand that now in a way I couldn't have before Lauren. The younger one, Mason, still believes everyone is good, that love is guaranteed. I hope he keeps that innocence as long as possible, but we'll teach him to be careful too. To understand that trust is earned, not freely given. We'll raise them to document things that matter, to save receipts, keep records, take photos, not because we want them to be paranoid, but because we want them to be protected. We'll teach them that family is about choices, not chromosomes, that love requires actions, not just words. And someday, when they're old enough, I'll tell them about Aunt Lauren. Not as a bedtime story or a cautionary tale, but as a fact of our history. She existed, she made choices, she faced consequences. She's not in our lives because proximity to her is dangerous. End of story. The truth is, I won this battle but lost the war. Lauren went to prison, but I lost my sister, half my extended family, and my ability to trust unconditionally. She's in a halfway house, but I'm in a different kind of prison, one made of security cameras and varied routines and looking over my shoulder. But here's what Lauren didn't count on. I'm okay with that trade. I'll take vigilance over victimhood. I'll choose safety over sibling bonds that were apparently never real. I'll build a family of choice rather than maintain one of chance. Tomorrow marks exactly 2 years since the anniversary party. My parents want to have dinner, to reclaim the date with something positive. We're going to a restaurant instead of their house. Nobody wants to be near those stairs. Mom asked if I think Lauren remembers the date. Of course she does. Lauren remembers everything. Every slight, every rejection, every time someone got something she wanted. She's probably sitting in that halfway house right now, marking the calendar, planning her next move. But I remember everything too now. Every lie, every manipulation, every red flag I ignored, because family doesn't do that to family. Lauren taught me that family does exactly that sometimes. That shared DNA doesn't mean shared values. That the people who know you best can use that knowledge to hurt you worst. If you're reading this and recognizing your own situation, the sibling who always needs money, the parent who makes you feel guilty, the relative who seems to have problems that are always someone else's fault, pay attention, start documenting, install cameras, save texts, back everything up. Don't wait for them to throw themselves down the stairs and blame you for the fall. Because here's the final truth. People like Lauren don't stop. They just find new victims, new schemes, new ways to play the system. The only thing that stops them is evidence, consequences, and other people learning to see them coming. I see Lauren coming now. In every manipulative family member someone tells me about, in every false accusation case Catherine takes, in every woman who approaches me after my talks, crying about a relative who's destroying their life with lies. She's everywhere and nowhere, a ghost of betrayal that haunts not just my story, but thousands of others. The sister who steals, the brother who lies, the parent who manipulates, the child who destroys. They're all Lauren in different faces, different houses, different families, who haven't yet learned that blood doesn't mean safety. My story went viral because people recognized it. Not the specifics. Most people don't have sisters who fake miscarriages, but the pattern. The family member who takes and takes until you have nothing left to give, then punishes you for the empty hands. Lauren gave me one gift through all this horror. She taught me that no is a complete sentence. That family doesn't excuse abuse. that forgiveness without accountability is just enablement, that some people will burn down your entire life for money they'll spend in 6 months. But most importantly, she taught me that I'm stronger than I knew. I survived false accusations, family abandonment, public humiliation, and a coordinated attempt to destroy my life. I'm still here, still standing, still refusing to let her actions define my future. The boys move in next month. Our family of choice grows while our family of origin shrinks. David's painting their room light blue with clouds on the ceiling. We're building them a world where family means safety, where trust is earned and honored, where love doesn't come with manipulation attached. Lauren will hate that I'm adopting. She'll see it as me getting what she thinks I always wanted: children, the perfect family, the life she convinced herself I had. She'll probably write another manuscript, maybe start a blog, definitely tell anyone who'll listen that I'm an unfit mother who destroyed her life. Let her. While she spins stories in a halfway house, I'll be reading bedtime stories to 2 boys who need a real home. While she plans her revenge, I'll be planning birthday parties and first days of school. While she lives in the past, nursing her rage about consequences she earned, I'll be building a future that doesn't include her. The security footage of Lauren's fall has been viewed over 3 million times across various platforms. People have slowed it down, analyzed it, made memes about checking for cameras before committing fraud. She's become a cautionary tale, a punchline, a verb. Don't pull a Lauren means don't create evidence of your own crimes. I take no pleasure in her infamy, but I do take comfort in knowing that somewhere, someone watched that video and decided not to falsely accuse a family member. Somewhere, someone installed cameras because of our story. Somewhere, someone documented suspicious behavior instead of ignoring it because family wouldn't do that. If Lauren's legacy is that fewer people suffer what I suffered, then something good came from this nightmare. The last thing I want to say is this. If you're reading this and you're a Lauren, someone who's contemplating framing a family member, faking an injury, making false accusations, know that the truth has a way of surfacing. Technology is everywhere. Cameras are watching. Digital footprints are permanent. And the very people you think won't fight back might surprise you. But more than that, know this. The money isn't worth it. The revenge isn't satisfying. The momentary victory turns to ash when the handcuffs click. Your children will grow up knowing what you did. Your name will forever be linked to your crime. And the family member you try to destroy, they'll survive, they'll thrive, they'll build something beautiful from the rubble you created. They'll write their story, and the world will know exactly who you are, just like the world now knows exactly who Lauren Morrison, formerly Lauren Henderson, really is. A woman who looked into a camera, smiled, and chose greed over family. That's her story. This is mine. I'm still writing it, one camera covered, carefully documented, Lauren free day at a time.